Well, it has been a while since you and I have sat down, and it's not like things haven't happened at a rapid rate around us anyway. But Dave's got some things to share, and I'm going to sit back this morning and be one of the listeners and observers like everybody else because I'm eager to see what you've got. So, with that, good morning, buddy.
Hey, man. Nice to see you and salutations to your community and everybody here. We're all here for love, joy, and hope. That's why we dispense that like a frequency or a vibrational plate or a shield. We just give that out, and that's 100% of the time responsibility and 100% of the time joy. Salutations. Um, so Lowell and I cross-reference a lot of different um, astrophysics sites and solar information, planetary sites. But speaking of planetary, by the way, guys, I want you to realize that right now we're looking at an amazing conjunction, and there's a big planetary alignment that's lining up right now. And so everybody should have a peek at that. Go onto your resources, find out the exact day and time to get out your binocular and your tripod and your camera and go out to a dark place to observe the night sky and the stars, because this alignment promises to be a fascinating invitation to our friends above and also for electromagnetic alignment. So when we have
It
a
should be
planetary,
pointed out that what you're talking about is all in alignment with the summer solstice. Here,
so
we're within days of that.
Lowell and I have spoken in the past. That's right, Lowell. We are within days of this conjunct. I'm probably going to make an effort to come out to the high desert around the 16th and enjoy being bathed by this new electromagnetic force that's coming in. Not all electromagnetic forces are bad. And if you go on to some of these cuckoo crazy YouTube sites about electromagnetism and the impact and the planetary electromagnetic forces weak and all these other things, it becomes a scaremongering fright show for people who are pseudoscientists. And let me tell you what a real scientist is. A real scientist is a person who has taken probably a good portion of their life to really research and engage in whatever their big questions were about the planet. And so, like, I'm a person that is big on geology and minerals, even though I've studied other topics. It's just to fill in the gaps. And geology and minerals, I've been collecting rocks like any little boy does when you're, 6 or 7 years old. You start picking them up. And so I have an amazing collection that I've been hauling around all my life because I'm just nuts for rocks. They don't have to be pretty crystals. They could just be really unusual rocks. Um, and so that makes me a scientist. Over my life, I'm 59 now. So over my life of being really interested in rocks since I was 10, I started really looking for encyclopedias and geology books and mineral books. And so I have a library of some 50 books on geology. In fact, you've seen them, Lowell, above my desk on that big, huge, dark mahogany shelf when you came to stay with me several years ago. You stayed for a couple of days and you see my library. That's all about fossil records, tree rings, and just fascinating things. So that makes me a scientist. I can say this is cement and this is feldspar. It's just being able to discern the difference because we have to use somebody's science. And I just love earth sciences and all the kooky names that minerals have been given. So when we look at these sites about solar activity and planetary alignments, and we hear people going, "Oh, the electromagnetosphere is really weak, and that causes all sorts of fibrillations in the heart, and it interferes with pacemaker technology, and blah blah blah." Of course it does. Yeah. And I really want people like Ben Davidson and all the other people talking about the situation with the sun to look at the positive aspects of existence, the positive aspects of being able to observe these phenomena, to feel them and to not be afraid of them, because it's a beautiful part of reality. I believe very sincerely that this is an opportunity for all human beings to think about why we're here. And Lowell and I touched on in the green room the purpose of our existence and what we've come to in our existence. But I feel very personally, and I feel very deeply that each one of us is a participant in a lesson that many species, many people from other planets, uh, all the animals, all the trees, all the rocks, the divine creator, whatever the divine creator is, because as a theoretician, I believe that time, light, gravity, and sound all arrived at the same time because one couldn't exist without the other. So the Big Bang is a whole big dirty toilet roll of nonsense. Don't unfurl it because there's nothing there. There's an unbelievable amount of infinite universes around this one, and we're all connected. And it's such a beautiful existence to just let yourself go and fall into the beautiful mandala of the mantra of your soul. We are all interconnected in this beautiful, beautiful existence for a reason. All species have lived on this earth for a reason. The earth is much older than 4.6 billion years old, much older. And it has reincarnated into itself many millennia times over and over again. And this is a shocking thought for mainstream science, so this is why they don't talk about it. So there's nothing bad that's going to happen with the alignment of these planets. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us a breath of fresh air from the nonstop, 6, 7, 8 month onslaught we've had from our sun during this part of the grand solar maximum. As soon as the sun went into the halfway point, and then it's now just sort of sloped over that a little bit. It's just been crazy. The X-class flares and the negatively charged ion streams and the huge waves of uh, kinetic energized particles. Because remember, kinetic energy, it's just amazing. It exists both in light and in quantum physics and here on life. You crack your fucking baseball bat against a baseball, and that baseball is going to get you a home run because of kinetic energy. We're full of kinetic energy, human beings, because we're made of billions of particles of light. And it's just a beautiful thing. You add water to it, and then all of a sudden you get this sort of bag. So, but everybody's here on the planet, and everybody's been through this life. So when we pass away from this life, that's a great joy, because it's just like changing clothes, and there's nothing to be afraid of. And we get to see all the people that we miss, that we love. And this is all part of the unifying grace of the universe. And that's why we're different. That's why we're special, because we're not afraid of anything. And, it's just part of the thing. So we willingly give our lives to sacrifice to save little animals in the forest or whales in the ocean or whatever you have to do, because it's just, we're all in this together. Doesn't matter if you're a protozoa or a multicellular life form, or if you're an advanced species like a golden eagle. We're all the same, man. So one of the things that I did want to touch on just in science is that we hear a lot about the KP index. All right. And this is really, Ben really needs to put a permanent reference somewhere in his site. And I've asked him to on his homepage many times over 12 years, and he's ignored it. But the KP index is one of the things that Ben shows people, and he's explained it in the past. And you have to go, but who wants to dig through 150,000, videos? So KP index, and this is, I have a website for everybody. So if you get your pen out right now, write down space weather dot GFZ, which is George Frank Zebra, GFZ dash hyphen Potsdam, all lowercase because it's Potsdam, Potsdam, and then it's .de because it's going to the German University Global Net. So if you look up spaceweather.gfz Potsdam.de, what you'll get is the GFZ, which is the Helmholtz Helmholtz Center, Potsdam. So the name KP originates from uh, German Dutch, and it stands for Planetarische Kennziffer. Planetarische Kennziffer, and it literally just means planetary index. The term was coined in 1949, and it was by a German scientist. So the KP index is that gravity is the occurrence of gravitational electromagnetic energy, or electromagnetic activity is the occurrence of K variations in the atmosphere, and is read by dozens and dozens of planetary observatories and magnetometers. So that you get and it also, it works as an acronym, and there's just a lot of synonyms in science, and certainly many millions in physics. So KP, just think of kinetic particles, right? So you don't have to worry about saying planetarisch Kennziffer, because nobody wants you to speak German to sound like you know what you're talking about. It's just, that's what it means, planetary index. And so it's a registry of all the universities and all the global astronomical agencies on the planet, when they can register a magnetometer reading of a fluctuation of energized particles that strike the Earth. Then they collate that data 24 hours a day with supercomputers now, and they all connect to each other. That way, NASA and NOAA and the FCC all know what's going on. So we can all go into the Helmholtz Center in Potsdam, and you can also look up the KP index on NASA. It's easy to find.
Noah.
But I like European university websites, because they tend to be, even though it's mainstream science, they tend to be a little easier to find stuff. So anyway, so I wanted everyone to know what the KP index is. So the KP index is set up on a three-dimensional sort of a corner of a box, and you see these different bars. Now, so there's a couple of aspects of the KP index I'm going to describe. So that Planetarisch Kennziffer guide, the highly compressed bars in the waves, you see the different waves. You see the blue, the red, the green, the yellow waves. Each one of them has a different scalar reading, and they're looking at four different aspects of the Kennziffer wave to collate a global effect. So if you get all of the planetary astronomical places in Asia, and that could be East, South, and North Asia, which would be a huge swath of the planet, they can all have a specific KP reading, because they were on the other side of the planet when there was a huge plasma release from the sun. So who picked it up? Okay, South America, North America, and parts of the Caribbean, maybe, or no, parts of the South Pacific Isles. So there had been a huge swath, maybe, beginning in Chile and terminating in southern New Zealand. And there'll be that strike zone from the sun. Remember, these are coming in strike zones like that. It's one boom, 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 but it's millions of energized particles. And then you get struck by these streams of energy. And the planet's rotating while that happens. So each of those planetary places are popping off like popcorn, and then they all send that information in. So that's your KP index. When those bars are really compressed on any of those colors or any of those different readings of the electromagnetism and the proton reading and the negatively charged ion reading, which is another band, when you see those really scrunched together, that means there's been a lot of activity coming from the sun. And so a couple of days ago, I went on Ben Davidson's site and left a comment, and it's been removed. It was there for a couple of days, and someone's yanked it. So what you want to look for is, if when you see it that compressed, those bars, then there's been a lot of charged particles bombarding us. And this last 6 months has just been the exception to the fucking rule. Everybody's been getting hit with this. So, when I go onto sites now, what I type in? I don't type in any scientific mumbo jumbo, because I don't give a shit if anyone's impressed about what I know. I just type in, hey, everybody, stay happy. Hey, everybody, produce some joy and give some hope to your neighbor. And believe me, that helps, because then when you start to just inculcate happiness and try and do something that keeps you happy, then we don't suffer those horrible bombardments that we're getting. Because yeah, I mean, who the hell wants to get bombarded with gamma radiation on a higher level? We're all getting zapped, everybody. It doesn't
Well,
matter if you go indoors, outdoors, we're all getting cooked.
hold on a second. There are two aspects of this that I've been drawn to pay attention to, and especially with the solar wind stream, we see changes in the wind speed. What Dave has been referring to is the changes in proton density and how much of this stuff is coming at us at accelerated periods.
Right, all those particles, proton
Woo!
density, even ion density, and this is a fabulous science. Okay, everybody, the not all science is a scam. It's just when the scientists start telling you what reality is, that's the scam. And so there's some really fascinating stuff going on with particle density, and not only that, because we have so many beautiful particles that are comprising different elements and comprising things like oxygen that we breathe. So it's just understanding the molecular, subatomic, and atomic level and the scale and why these particles are attracted to each other. The whole electricity side of this, and this is when I was going to university, I had 2 years of electromagnetism. Thank God for James Clerk Maxwell, because he gave us the right hand rule and he took the work from amperes and from Gauss, and he added the mu naught epsilon naught to show the empirical direction of magnetism, electromagnetism. So everything is ordained to occur and behave the way it is. But what's fascinating is the technology that human beings have come up with in the last 20 years alone in identifying what these particles look like, behave like, and do to us. And there's some
Yes.
fascinating stuff. I was really fortunate to help develop a pass filter for the Copernicus Observer through the ESA, through my student program. And I produced a pass filter that recognized ion and ionic reflection between the Earth's surface and the lower stratosphere. And so I got a Scholastic Award for that. And it's just the filtration programs that we're producing to understand these particles. So when Ben talks about the KP index, listen to him, because he's telling you guys, this is what you put your money on, because the KP index is such an important way to see the stuff
Yeah.
that's coming off the sun. So go ahead and finish that thought you had.
Oh, that was the end of it, but that's a reliable meter. Exactly what you just said. Yeah, we have been talking about long enough and sent out links to try and get the rest of you on board with just monitoring these conditions. Once we could get you to just understand that this phenomenon is taking place, now we can help you associate it with these energetic changes that are taking place in me that I don't understand. Well, here, let me help you connect the dots.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Your finger is on the fucking zeitgeist. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and the dots are connected for us. So what happens after you see somebody connect the dots for you, and then you finish the puzzle by understanding what they're talking about? That's when you have that clarity and you can start speaking about stuff without, worrying about what you're saying. I just would hate it if I ever put out erroneous information and wasn't able to correct myself.
Yes.
And every once in a while, I make mistakes as far as information streaming, and it's because I have a lot of information. And it ends up, sometimes I'll skip a whole paragraph in my mental book, and so I'll go from one page to the next, not explaining the steps to how to get from there to there. But it's really important that we use our technology right now for the right reasons. If you got a phone, don't be looking up like rock bands and fucking social issues. You need to be using your phone for getting onto DuckDuckGo and using that to look up scientific papers and things like that, because this is, not all science is bogus. A lot of it's bogus. Speaking of which, would you like to hear about a conversation I gave to some very important government people?
Yeah.
Okay, so unfortunately I'm not allowed to use names. So this is part of the caveat as I get introduced to this stuff. Remember, you guys, I come from a family of people that have worked in very high positions for the U.S. government, both in the military and in the service of the federal government, whether that's the NAP Commission, which is law enforcement based, or in the Department of Justice. So that's my family, and I guess a lot of the illusions that I'd have when I turn on social media and I see something about the government and how it works. I don't have those illusions, so I don't fall for any of the nonsense that people put up about the U.S. government. It's a very open book. It's just that lawyers have made it very difficult to get through. And it's, you think, oh, I want to go talk to my congressman. Well, get in line, buddy. There's about 15 things you got to do before they'll even read your fucking email. And it's just, there's no illusions. It's just having to have the time, patience, and determination to get through the line of bullshit in order to talk to the right people. And then when you get there, you find that, well, we just assume you didn't talk about this publicly. And certainly if you do, don't mention any names. I'm like, okay, so once again, I'm going to say, I don't care if anybody believes what I'm doing or anything. I have such amazing ability to create and open doorways by my own thoughts that, well, I'm happy to share what's happening. So I got to meet the adjutant to the commander of Space Force. And he was telling me about some stuff. And then the stuff was personnel changes on the highest levels, because I've had some background checks, and there's been many phone calls to members of Congress and many phone calls and emails to members of Congress. And there's been a lot of nice people in law enforcement that I've spoken to that are all interested in helping me get a message of higher peace and higher hope out to federal agents who suffer from what I have identified as a very distinct form of federal myopia. And when you have myopia, it's very dangerous. So they're myopic thinking because they're stuck in this very center of a very regimentalized box. And being outside the box all of my life, or for most of my life, except when I was in law enforcement, I can tell you it's a lot more exciting and wonderful to be on my side of the box. And I was invited to give some scientific dissertation to some people that may or may not be going into outer space regularly. And so, of course, I jumped at that opportunity and have not been told anything contrary about what I discussed. So on a small platform in front of a dry erase chalkboard and a projector, I spent some 2 hours in my first meeting talking about planetary science, astrophysics, and what we know about space travel, and what we know that we're being allowed to know about how to go very quickly through outer space. And then that was the end of the first module. And so I was invited back because I couldn't unload the really hardcore stuff until I sort of stepped in to make an entrance and to talk about subjects that I had mastery of, that I can explain to them in a very clear and very dignified way. Because when you work with people in government that have been in government for 40 years and now are at very high capacities, you must never, ever walk into that situation where you feel like you're superior in any way. You have to go in and remember that they're in a very tight fraternity, and that fraternity is about brotherhood. And if you spill blood with your brother, then you are indeed his brother and he is yours. And that's the mentality, and that's part of being an American soldier, because most of these folks are all in the military. I'd say 99% of them. Didn't really get a chance to talk to any civilian staff. So, I've been invited back, and so I've emailed the module that I'll be discussing with them, and it's about hyperspace travel, and it's about their ability to open up new parts of their mind so that they can start freeing their ability to reach out beyond the box. And that's just the next module. Because if I unloaded everything that I was going to share and help these people with to wake up all at once, they not only would not have the time to read that, but they would not have the ability to understand it. So it has to be one of those processes where I spend 2 or 3 years holding people's hands 1 to 2 hours at a time, talking about the greatest thing that's ever happened to them is happening right now. So it's been really good. On the second side of that, I can say that there's a new type of humans being created within that box, and being directly within it recently, I can tell you that it's not a bad human, but it doesn't come from the Fed. It comes from our friends from other worlds. They are intervening on a huge level, and I'm still talking to my friend, and he said just now that one of the things that they laugh about is that when we talk about the landing and the arrival, and how, like, I've been saying for 2 years, oh, it's going to be a huge landing, there's going to be a huge arrival. My friend is laughing right now. He's saying, David, tell him that the huge landing and the huge arrival had been happening. The reason you didn't see it is because it was inside the box. I just fucking went, what? Okay. So there's been a new type of communication going on inside the box from our friends from other worlds that have created a new type of understanding person within government. And I know, even though I haven't witnessed it, so I'm not going to say, but I know, or I have a very deep feeling that this is going on everywhere, and that we're going to see a lot of powerful changes of opinion within deep centralized government groups about behavior. And so not only are thoughts things that I can produce these documents and go forward and hand them out and actually begin to start talking to these people publicly about science, right? Is that the landing happened, but it happened inside. It happened indoors. They arrived and showed up. They've been in meetings with them for years. And this isn't the ones that General Westmoreland made trades with in 1946. That's not that species. They know, the US government knows they got into trouble for dealing with those species, because not all grays have our best interests at heart. And I have to tell you, most of the elevated ones that come from Vega, they were all given a gift by the Pleiadians. Uh, I don't know how many million years ago. I don't want to sound like an expert, but they were all given upgrades, and they were given upgrades telepathically, telekinetically, physically. Remember that EBEs are a clone derivation of a gray from Vega, and the EBEs were created by reptilians. They weren't created by anybody else. Those are the ones that absolutely have no feelings and are used like little bioengineered entities to do all the terrible shit to people. Well, all that's been stopped. There's no more needles. There's no more like kidnapped fetuses, and none of that shit going on anymore. And the landing happened, you guys. It happened indoors. And so when I was starting to release higher aspects of what I know without giving them the keys to the Cadillac, I was approached by the person who's being transferred to the Pentagon. And that was an amazing conversation, because not only are they aware that they're not having direct communication the way they feel like they should. They're aware of their need to learn how to. And that's the key. And so everything that I'm going to be doing over the next couple of years is manifesting. And I'm handling it really professionally. I'm not getting spooked out about it, and I'm not turning it into some sort of escapade. So I have a feeling that we're going to be seeing a lot of really different feelings coming from clarity messages from members of the federal government, especially about people from other worlds and working with them. I think that the process of deep shame and the process of deep guilt and sadness is how the people inside the box get out of it. And so I'm not being told the dynamics or the specifics of the program, but the landing happened. It happened indoors, and that's where the work's been done. The ones that happened outside, you know what they've done for us. And I think by the time the human beings on this planet go to their authorities and demand them to stop using weapons against other humans and stop using horrible chemicals, that day that's going to be coming soon, there won't be any resistance and it won't be a problem. And I think that's part of the great evolutionary change that we're going through, because we finally, and I've got good news, you guys, from my friends from the Galactic Council of Scientists, Taurus. We've passed the point. We passed the point in the last 6 months where we will never destroy ourselves with nuclear weapons. It happened about 6 months ago. Unilaterally, a genetic leap has been reached, and there's nobody on the planet alive that wants to nuke each other. And it doesn't matter what you're being told about despotic enemy countries. And we all know that there's some great sadnesses in North Korea, very, very sad things there. We know there's some very sad things in the Middle East and in Israel and all around the world. So we just want to put good vibrations out to them. But hope is just around the corner. And everybody has to remember that, because the message that we're still giving and receiving is great hope, tremendous amounts of forgiveness, and tremendous amounts of love. And so with all the science that's carried me through the experience of awakening, I can tell you guys that there's some really exciting things that are occurring to me right now, as far as opening doors with working with the Pentagon and with working with Space Force, that everybody that I've spoken to have been absolutely lovely, and none of them have made fun. And it's just such an eye opener, because they're fascinated. And since I won't be handing them technology because I have a lot of it, they know that's has to be on a trade example of them handing over the technology that they have so that it can be reflected back to them. And so on that note of reflecting information and things back, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to catch your community and my friends who live in your tribe. I think that's what I wanted to get out. So it's all been really, really positive.
I've been saying for a while now that there are good people that work within the government who just want to know the truth. I don't talk about this, although you and I have touched on it in the past, just to bring some awareness to this very topic, that we had been aware when Dave and I started to do, especially his 4-part series, where he'd been, what he'd done, brought his pictures along. That's when we learned there were others listening to the podcasts. They showed up at Dave's place of work. They reached out to my WhatsApp phone, and we've had conversations just like Dave described. These
And
are
then you
good
started then
people
you started getting
who,
phone calls from that guy in aerospace. And we're not going to talk about his name either. And I know exactly who he is. Great guy.
yeah. I have a
Smartest.
name I refer to him as because he looks really like a kid I went to high school with. So I call him Tommy Swanson, but that's not
Right.
his name.
No, it
What
can't
he
be.
has been involved with and what he wants to know because of what he's seen and doesn't quite connect to yet. Now he wants to understand what's the freaking codex to really. I see it's there, but I don't know how do you get in touch with that. That's what we've been called to do, and I'm delighted to play the role. But I don't go out there and talk about this stuff, or it would certainly be twisted by individuals who just want a pound of flesh from the administration in whatever form that can come to them. And that's never going to happen. Believe me, move on. There are extraordinary things being presented to all of us right now. And we have been given the interpreters. Um, Something's changing inside of us genetically, whatever DNA repair and restoration has been taking place.
That's right.
We see things for what they are now, and holy cow, we're just about to that elevated place that meditation takes us from time to time when we're going to reach it, and we never look back anymore. We're almost there.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, I've had a hard time trying to just grab those little moments where I can sit down and do 20 minutes of meditation, just be quiet and quiet my mind. And I actually found that like I uploaded a message on my channel about clarity being achieved through forgiveness. And so just understanding the very important special messages that keep you and me and all of our dear friends here connected and grounded is that ability to just remember those wonderful things, that we are the change. We are the fucking change, man. And it's interesting too, because when my friends above said, hey, you got to stop using our names and talking about what you did, just go ahead and get involved with this program and everything will be cool. They never said I couldn't talk about stuff. They just said, don't talk about us. So it's like,
it's not
listen,
necessary. You're the
yeah,
authority. You're the
yeah,
experiencer. And I've been
right.
saying this for a while. Those are the people I want to listen to. The ones who have been there, done that, not somebody who's telling me about somebody else's experience.
Well, it's funny too, because one of the reasons I'm going to try and get out there to see you next week is because I've had a real strong call to go to the area between you and Sedona. Maybe go to Red Rock. I don't know. Maybe go to Red Rock, and then
It
bring
calls
my
all the
tripod.
time.
Yeah, bring my
It,
tripod and my binoculars and
absolutely.
my chair, and I'm gonna park my ass.
Well,
And
if not, I have a tripod, and you can certainly use my infrared
oh
goggles. They're
no, I've got
here.
to thank you. No, I don't want an infrared. I have really good vision, and I have some
Well,
really
I
amazing
want you to use
binoculars.
those so you can see it. But if you want to record some stuff, we've got equipment you can do that with.
Well, and this is the funny thing too, because the weather in California, it's really been cool and beautiful and moist and foggy in the morning. And
Yeah.
I was wearing a sweater while I was pulling weeds the other day, so it was like stupid. And now the sun's been coming out at 12:30, and from 12:30 until 4, it's been baking
Welcome
hot.
to the Pacific coastline.
Baking, sunny, hot, beautiful at the beach at about 77 degrees with a slight breeze.
Yeah.
So I know everyone's out there boiling and roasting, and it's like, oh man, I feel so sorry for you turkeys. No, but I've got to come out. I do want to get some of this heat because I love Arizona heat. You see, there's
Well,
nothing wrong with heat. There's nothing wrong with sweat. There's nothing wrong with sitting and meditating in the sun in the middle of the desert with nothing on. And I'm going to go don my loincloth and throw my ass on a wool blanket or a cotton blanket. And I'm going to sit there in the sun for 3 or 4 hours and just listen.
okay. We'll see about that. For
And oh
me,
no,
it's been triple digits. It's not my cup of tea, but if that's what you
I'll wear a
say it
hat.
is,
I'll wear a hat. I'll
just
wear a
be
hat.
mindful. Bring, you know what uh, uh, a desert blanket is? Just a little throw, those little things. Make sure that you bring one of those because the rocks you sit on, in most cases, are going to be hot too.
Well, believe it or not, I have a pith helmet from a brand new one from India. It's made from sisal. It's a good one, and they're hard to get. And I've got a pith helmet, so I'm going to look like a right twat with my British Indian pith helmet
You got to
and
have somewhere to wear it, right?
my loincloth. Hooga hooga bugga.
Wasn't
No, I
meant to
just
sit on the shelf.
well, I promise you, I'll behave myself. But the thing is that the energy right now with the planetary alignment is going to really help mitigate a lot of this powerful compression we've had in the KP index. This unrelenting 7 month long sled ride from the sun has just been a real pain in the ass. And it's been a pain in the ass for everybody. I'm watching people who don't understand this stuff act like idiots, and they just don't. I just want to go up and hug them and say, shh, take a deep breath. Everything's okay. Because it's like they don't know what's going on. And so the driving's gotten worse and people's behavior has just been off the charts. And it's like, come on, man. It's just like it's the sun. Just chill. Take a deep breath. We'll get through this together. And it's so, but I do know that the energies are changing and
Yes.
we're gonna cool down for a little while because Mr. Sun has had his little poppity pop pop. I don't think we're gonna be getting any more X class flares for a while, to tell you guys the truth. And I think
We'll see about that.
I think they're done for a while. I think the
We'll
planetary
see
alignment
about that.
it's gonna help.
We'll see what's coming around the Western Limb. We'll see about that, is just what I'm saying. We are far from finished with the succession of the impacts that are coming our way. So
Yeah,
just saying,
that's
strap in.
let's yeah strap in. So let's hope that any of the charged particles that fly by us are just flying by us and not into us. So
Dude,
check out
here,
this.
let's help everybody understand that. That stuff that's coming at us, that photon energy, is it's sinking into every sentient being. What it's doing at a
Oh,
cellular level to
I mean
prepare
the
you for
bad
what's
stuff.
coming on. Well, I don't focus on that. So we're not even going to bring attention to that. I'm just telling you what kind of light your bodies are starting to receive. And in most cases out there, your bodies weren't designed for this level of light, which is why we keep telling you,
Well, I don't know,
jack
maybe
your vibration up so you can.
right. Well, that's absolutely correct because we all getting a really good suntan whether you're indoors or out.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
not, I don't listen, I don't focus on negative aspects, but I do bring up, the positives and the negatives. And I think that when things like this are joyous, there's a lot of stuff coming off the sun I just not soon get involved with. And I can't help it. I'm in an urban location, so I'm gonna spew out what the traffic jams are like. It's
Oh,
fine
yeah.
here. It takes me 5 minutes to get to work at 4 in the morning. It takes me a half hour to get
Mm.
home, and that's if I'm driving. So usually I take my bicycle these days. Um, I found some really cool calcite. I'm going to put this up because I want to show
Oh,
you
yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I wanted to finish
So
my thought, but that's beautiful. It's like
check.
window pane.
Yeah, it weighs about a half a pound. It's super super clear, and I've got my trusty little dusty. Uh, Look at that.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Look at this one. I mean, it's just this pain
Hmm.
right here. It's just amazing. This thing weighs a ton,
That
and
thing
it
is
has.
meant to clear other things.
Look at that. It has some amazing refractive behavior. So this is just a 40 nm UV light. Look at that. Look at
You're
that.
such a crystal geek. I love you.
Look at this shit. Right. But look at this one. So then I found this one. It's kind of an arch.
Oh, pocket
Look at that.
piece.
Isn't that a
Nice.
trip?
Yes.
And it's really interesting because it's actually quite hard. It's
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah. It
beautiful.
looks like you're holding ice.
It's just beautiful calcite. I found this where I go and get my other gemstones. I found some really cool stuff. And it's funny how one gemstone or one mineral leads to another. It's like if you have this feldspar and that feldspar, and you've got this quartzite, and then they all get together under about 100 million pounds of pressure, 100 million tons of pressure over 1,000 years, you're going to end up with this. And it's funny because then this turns into something else if it's ignored. and then the planet just keeps recycling like one type of crystal into another, and one
Everything is
mineral or
evolving.
oh, it's great. And so like I'll go found like we found all those amazing tourmaline, the brown tourmaline, the orange and the yellow tourmaline, and then we found all that beautiful mogonite and the blood topaz. But then now I'm discovering these like really amazing little other places where there's like really bitchin' calcite. And I love calcite because everybody knows calcite is all about clarity. And if you keep a piece of calcite in your pocket, I don't know if you want to put a piece that big. It's fairly comfortable and there's no sharp edges. I mean, they're
Right.
neat. They're neat, but they're not going to cut your skin because it's so low on the Mohs scale. It's like 2.9. So, yeah, but it produces clarity and you can feel it coming off of it.
For sure.
It's like whatever your pocket piece is. So, I need a lot of clarity, and this is why Gaia gave me this big plate. I'm just gonna hold it right here and just press that against my third eye,
That'll
just
do it.
gently, just gently. And look how that works out too, right? It
Yeah.
just feels so comfortable. So it's a nice crystal, and so we're still blessed. William and I are going to be working our butts off for Father's Day, and I just wanted to catch you and say Happy Father's Day coming up
Thank you.
because
You
because
too.
you're thank you. You're a good dad, and I respect that about you. It's an honor to give everything that we can to our kids because it's like, man, my son still works like a bastard too, so it's not like he's spoiled. It's good. How's your boy doing?
Same. You and I are like bookend dads. Our
Oh yeah,
relationship with our sons are exactly the same, and
yeah, they're brilliant.
it's not. Alex, in the scheme of things, there are two people whose I trust beyond everything else. Their family is my son and my brother. Those are the two that know all of the stuff that's going on with me, and that's the kind of relationship you and Will have the same thing. The first time I saw the interactions between the two of you, it just spoke that yeah, these guys they just connect on whatever levels they need to.
Right. And for me right now, it's like, come on, I built this business, the garden, everything. I even did the plumbing and the electrical. The damn thing is my pride and joy. It's all I've got, right? Because this is how I pay my bills. And so I got no problem leaving my bakery over to Will to run for Father's Day if I shoot out to Phoenix,
He
because
loves
it'll
it.
be like I don't have
He
to
knows
worry
what
about
it.
it. Yeah,
Right.
if you want to give me a Father's Day gift, give me a day off, boy. I gotta I gotta go head out to the desert and look at the stars because we've had no stars down here. And I know my friends have been communicating with me, Lowell. They've
Yeah,
been
you've
they
had marine layer. I've been looking at that. I
yeah.
look at these
So
Earth cams every now and then. So I've seen like
oh
San
it
Francisco Bay has been
right.
fogged over like you are,
And
but we are certainly not.
it totally plays hell with CLPF. They can't
Yes, it
actuate
does.
their light
You
pulse
can't see through
technology.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm not getting any messages that way, and that's how I'm set up.
right.
So the urge and the pull to get out there is pretty strong. And I can feel them, I can hear them, but I haven't had any good nighttime skies since April 8th,
Oh, okay. Well,
right? So it's like
um,
I need to get out
that's a
into the
form
stars.
of cabin fever.
Right. Right. Well, I think all of us feel like getting up out of Los Angeles anyway. So that's,
Yeah.
what ugh, they're trying
All right.
hard. God bless them. All right. So look, everybody remember to go on to
Let's
the
wrap
help.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Let's
reaching
go on to
out.
the Helmholtz Center in Potsdam. Helmholtz. So you can get the planetary Kennzeifer and get all your space weather from the European universities, and that'll give you really good information about the KP index. So that's a tool that I want. Like Ben always talks about it. I know you folks are checking out of suspicious observers these days. So really get to know your KP index and different ratios, and it'll help you sort of connect the dots with the physical the emotional that we're feeling and the light that's coming down, the new type of light. So just let shit flow through you, man. Right?
Namaste. Thanks, buddy.
Peace. Peace.